Tanzanian inflation fell to 6.7% in the year to August from 7.5% in July due to slow pace of commodity price rises. The year-on-year rate of inflation in East Africa's second largest economy has now fallen in the last 18 of 19 months. And in Mozambique's headline consumer inflation slowed further in August to 4.34% from 4.58% in July. Joining us on the line from Absa Capital is Riddle Marcus, Africa strategist. Riddle, thank you so much for joining us. Now, can you quickly give me a comparative analysis? What are the key drivers behind the slowing of consumer inflation for each of these respective economies?
Well, Nazipo, I think the main reason, of course, here has been lower food inflation. So it doesn't mean to say that prices have necessarily fallen, but it does mean that the annual price rise has been less than before. What we have seen in Tanzania's case has obviously been that they are still recovering from the drought in 2011, and as a result, prices were fairly high back then. So there are some positive output, I would say, on a food front coming through, and that you can see in the lower food inflation. So food inflation is below, basically below 7% there. In Mozambique, they've had some floods in the beginning of this year, and the floods were obviously quite destructive and caused a lot of damage to food crop, etc. So once again, there you can see a recovery in food output, the same way as we've seen in Tanzania, and as a result, the food prices have sort of, food inflation is also substantially low in Mozambique. The stable currencies have also played a role I think, in both countries. So it means that imported food, prices have not really been put under pressure. On the transport side, I think there has been some pressures. Tanzania, we saw an increase in fuel prices, last month, but that didn't seem to have too much of an impact on inflation in Tanzania. I do believe that in Tanzania's case that inflation is probably likely to fall even further from the current level of 6.7%.
Riddle, you are saying that we should expect Tanzanian inflation to fall even further. Do you think that Tanzania then is likely to reach its 5% target? And also taking in mind the fact that the IMF had forecasted that they would reach 7% by December only, it seems as if they've already surpassed this particular target. Should we understand this to be a confidence indicator that they are well on their way to reaching 5%?
Unlikely they will adjust the inflation target. I think they will just be happy to maintain it and keep it below the target level. So again, it reflects very positively on the central bank and everyone involved if the inflation continues to fall. But of course, there's going to be some new pressures, I think, coming through early next month, and of course early next year. And of course the oil price situation is also something to look at, depending on how the issues in the Middle East unfold. I mean, we could potentially see oil prices coming back as quite a major threat, and also currencies coming under pressure, in which case it will probably be not very advisable to look at adjusting any of the inflation targets. So while we are saying that inflation is likely to fall further, it doesn't mean to say that there won't be any kind of risks. Like I said, on the fuel front, there's definitely some risks that may come through at some point.